I've always known that my in-laws view me as a walking ATM, but I never imagined they'd have the courage to say it directly to my face. Not until the night that altered everything. The evening began as usual whenever I was in the vicinity of Camille's. Relatives, noisy, expensive wine, and an underlying disrespect for me, which they no longer even attempted to conceal. I had grown accustomed to ignoring it over the years, allowing the casual remarks about my finances to go unnoticed. But this time, they went too far. As we prepared to leave Camille's family gathering, her younger sister Bianca walked right past me and got into the driver's seat of my brand-new Tesla, one I had barely driven. She ran her manicured fingertips across the steering wheel and grinned as she turned to Camille. "He said he'd lend it to me. He always does. He's not a real man, though, just a walking ATM." Suddenly, the entire room burst into laughter. Not just Bianca, not just Camille, but all of her relatives, her mother, Olivia, even her cousins. Standing there, grinning smugly, Camille pretended as if what had just been said wasn't a total embarrassment. They weren't laughing with me, they were laughing at me, and something inside of me snapped. At that moment, I should have raised my voice and confronted Bianca. But instead, I did something that made them believe they had won. I gave a brief, meaningless laugh, nodded, and turned to leave. I climbed into the passenger seat without a word, acting as if nothing had happened, as if I wasn't bothered by it. But deep down, I felt the weight of my own inadequacy in their eyes. And that was my fault, because my silence had led them to believe that I had accepted being their laughing stock. But what they didn't know was that I was already done with them. That laugh they shared at my expense, it was the last one they would ever get. During the long drive home, Camille must have noticed my silence. She kept stealing glances at me, and at one point, she nudged my arm, as if I was simply being overly sensitive. "Oh, come on. You know Bianca was just joking." I simply nodded, keeping my hands on the wheel. A few minutes later, she tried again. "You're not mad, are you?" I turned and gave her a gentle smile. Of course not. But that smile wasn't for her. By the time we pulled into our driveway, my mind was already made up. As Camille scrolled through her phone, humming to herself, probably checking whatever lavish nonsense Bianca had posted on Nikki Instagram, I walked into my home office and shut the door behind me. It was the only time I had ever been in there at midnight, and it was the last time Camille's family would ever take advantage of me. By 2 a.m., I was making phone calls. The first step, completely revoking Bianca's access to the Tesla. Check next, freezing the shared accounts between Camille and Bianca. Check every subscription, every credit card, gone. Direct deposits, canceled. If it didn't serve my interests, it was erased. For the first time in years, I felt free. Because the ATM they had mocked for so long, it no longer existed. By the time I woke up the next morning, my phone was exploding with messages. Bianca: "WTF, the Tesla won't start, I'm stuck." Camille: "Are you serious? Why is my card being declined?" Bianca: "I'm calling Mom, you're acting crazy." Camille: "Are you really this petty?" I laughed, because the best part? For the first time, they were experiencing the same helplessness they had forced on me. By noon, Camille stormed into my office, flushed and furious. She threw her phone onto my desk, slamming the door behind her. "Are you really going to be this childish?" she shouted. I leaned back in my chair, glancing at the screen. A dozen missed calls, texts from Bianca, their entire family freaking out. I took my time before responding. "Oh, don't play dumb. You shut off my access to the Tesla. You locked Bianca out of our accounts. What the hell is wrong with you?" I looked at her, my face unreadable. "You made fun of me last night." My voice was calm, and that made her stop. "Camille," I said, standing up, "for years I let your family walk all over me. I let them use me. I ignored the disrespect because I thought it made you happy. But last night I realized something. She blinked, confused. I stepped past her and opened the office door. "I'm done being your fool." Her lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't expected a real fight. "Does that mean—" She hesitated. I smiled. "It means you better start getting used to the word no." And with that, I walked away, leaving Camille standing there, stunned, because she had never seen the man I had just become. But now, it was too late. And the best part? Bianca, Camille, and her entire family were finally facing the consequences of their own actions. Because what they didn't realize was that while they had been laughing at me, mocking me, belittling me, I had already been planning my next move, and at exactly midnight, I made those calls. The ATM was closed. For good. Then I understood that Mia didn't boast. Instead, she simply said, "I told you." "Check your credit report," she added, exhaling as if she had been waiting for me to finally see what she had known all along. "You must understand the extent of this nightmare." I did just that, and what I discovered was a financial catastrophe. 3 credit cards, maxed out, unauthorized loans, 2 of them, each totaling more than $30,000. The sole individual with access to transactions totaling more than $160,000? Camille. She was the only person with access to my personal information, including my social security number. My stomach twisted as I sat back in my chair, rubbing a palm across my face. She had been using my name to pay for her family's luxuries, while I was working extra hours to ensure we had a comfortable life. As I sat there trying to comprehend Bianca's daring move, I realized she most likely never even intended to tell me about it. I wasn't going to respond when my phone vibrated again. Bianca. Then I saw my security app notification flash on the screen. Motion detected at the front entrance. I tapped the feed. Bianca was there, attempting to enter my house with my extra key. I raised the volume and listened as she yanked at the locked door, muttering obscenities before taking out her phone. A few seconds later, my voicemail appeared. "Lucas, you need to grow. Up and unlock the Tesla. Stop acting like a child and reset access. You're already being theatrical." She still believed this was a game. I shook my head and laughed darkly. I phoned them. Because she still believed she could walk all over me. That was her biggest mistake. I told Anthony to get back to me right away. I needed formal demand letters written. I wanted every unlawful account associated with my name closed, immediately. Wanted to know exactly what legal action I could take against Camille for fraud, and I wanted my credit record corrected. Anthony agreed. "But," he said, "we need concrete evidence that she opened these accounts on purpose before we can proceed with fraud claims." I promised. "I'll get it." I wasn't just going to freeze her access. She was going to learn. I was going to make her pay for every penny she had stolen. Bianca's final warning. "What happens when you cross the wrong man?" I called her back. She answered. "Lucas, you're acting like such a pitiful little boy right now. Just let me use the car so I can leave. This is absurd." I leaned on my desk and spoke calmly. "You're leaving, Bianca, but not in my car." "Jesus, you're such a—" I cut her off. "You're lucky I haven't reported the car stolen yet." Her breathing became erratic. "Lucas, you need to calm down. You're kidding, right?" "No, Bianca, you need to calm down." I hung up. That was it. She would never take another cent from me again. That evening, I sat in my home office, staring at the stack of proof I had collected. Credit card statements, bank statements, evidence of how well they had misled me, and I knew this was only the beginning. Camille and Bianca thought they could take everything from me because they believed I would always be the idiot. But the following morning, I woke up with a realization. They had just made the worst mistake of their lives.